You know, in fact, in an interview some years back, and why I'm asking you all this is because it's very much the man you are, and you know, some of that comes through in the tweets that you do at 3 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock at night, not when you meet you on the stage or on the cinema screen. And you said that your sister, you know, your mother died in very difficult circumstances, and you said your sister also is a kind of daily reminder that you cannot have the life that your father has, you know, your father lived and your father had. Can you share that with us, you know, what really happened? Because a lot of that went into making you the kind of superstar that you are.
Yeah, my father died of cancer, throat and liver. Started with throat, and I remember the last few days, he couldn't speak. So we used to play dumb charades, and you know, we used to kind of, he used to write stuff, then he couldn't write stuff, so he would say, call, little, and then brother or sister. So I remember this was at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Safdarjung Hospital, and he obviously, like any father, was in love with his daughter, and she was very beautiful. Everyone used to think she looked like Jane Fonda. Meri puri family bahut sundar hai. Just to let you know. So she was extremely beautiful, and when my father died, I remember he was getting well. Then I went to the hospital one night, and he was dead and cold. His feet were very cold. So I touched his feet, and he was very peaceful and dead, and not looked like the handsome Pathan he was. It's very thin. And I had never driven a car. I was 15, and I remember my mom and me sat in the car to get back home. Our driver, who had waited all night, couldn't wait any longer, had left the car abandoned in front of the main road. And I sat in the car and drove back, and I do remember my mother, when we reached home, she said, "Tumhane gaadi chalana kaise seekha?" And I said, "Kab seekha?" And I said, "Just now." And I was driving a car. I came home. My sister was in Lady Shriram College, and we didn't tell her that our father has passed away. So I went, I got her, and I remember this, and because I'm a soul-selling commercial actor, one day I will use this in a film also, shamelessly. But 99% of the things that I use so shamelessly in films is an experience which is very close to my heart, and somehow life has taught me it's all right to show the innermost of my feelings in the commercial sense. Not to earn money, but just, it's okay. It's one life. So I will use this. I remember my sister standing in front of my father's parthiv sharir bolte na Hindi mein, dead body, and she just looked. She didn't cry. She didn't say anything. She just fell. And she hit her head on the ground. And for 2 years after that, she didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just kept looking in space. And it just changed her world. Mashallah, now she's better. She got some deficiencies. During the making of my film Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, she again was hospitalized, and they said she will not survive. I took her to Switzerland, got her treated there while I was shooting Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam. And but she hasn't ever recovered from the loss of her father, the suddenness of him passing away. And then it got compounded because my mother also expired 10 years later. So we are what in Muslims is called yatim and yasir, father and motherless. And when I see her, especially the time period from my father's death to my mother's death, she was highly qualified. She has done MA LLB, very intelligent, like my parents wanted her to be. But she could not face the reality of losing her parents. And I somehow developed this sense of detachment, this sense of false bravado, which I show in public, a sense of humor, and a lot of things that I do which people think is flamboyant and very Bollywood-like, to cover up this sadness affecting my life and me becoming like my sister. I love my sister how she is. She's a much better person than I can ever be. I think she's a child of God and very naive and innocent. My kids love her more than they love me and my wife. And I'm very glad she's a part of our lives like this. But I don't have the guts to be so simple, so hurt, so disturbed. So a part of me keeps on working round the clock, keeps on being happy in spite of things which are said about me, or make a joke about things that I do, but still keep doing them, because if I did not do it, I think I would be in the same state of potassium deficiency and depression. So to avoid depression, I act. It's much larger than to earn money or be a big star or do endorsements or dance at weddings, which I joke about. And this is the God's honest truth. I think this is the most honest I've ever been in my life to anyone.
Shahrukh, before we move away from this series of central events that happened in your life and you know how it continues to pursue you, would you share with the audience that snatch about your father passing away? Did you bring it with you?
I'm sorry, I have it on my laptop. I tried to print out a lot of things, but technologically we are a little challenged still.
You had it on your Kindle with...
Yeah, if I can get the laptop, I'll ask them to bring it and do it in a moment or two.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll come back to that.
Have I screwed up major with this disorganization of mine?
No.
I'm really sorry. Okay. Oh no, it's here. Okay. Okay, this is very small, but I'll still. This is an incident about. This chapter is called "The Train to Pakistan." I finally learned that life isn't a timed test where the goal is to make a list of shouldas, couldas, wouldas on January 1st and finish as fast as possible with every answer correct and be perfect about it. I've taken sayings, what people have said, and started my chapter, so I won't read the whole chapter and bore you, but I'll describe the portion when my father, who had taken me twice to Peshawar, and we had gone always through Amritsar, walked through to Lahore, where I even did a film called Veer Zara, which brought back a lot of memories. And I cried there because I'd done the same with my dad. So I'm just reading you the last part, where the second time we went, every time my father told me a lot of stories about how wonderful his hometown was. Kisa Khani and Lahori di Hatti and kitne log khush the or kitne achhe the. My father, by the time I was born, wasn't doing well business-wise. Wives, as they are always, were, tum kuch karte kyun nahi, kind of a thing. So I think he needed to go back to his past to keep on telling me how wonderful it was. And he took me twice to Peshawar. This is the second time in 1980 when he took me. So I'm just reading the last bit, which I read to Shoma. My father got me back to Peshawar once again in 1980. The second time round was also turning out to be as exciting. But without my knowledge, there was something else taking place right under my nose. I was told by my father's friend that all this niceness that my cousins were showing me was to impress my father into leaving his share of property in their names. I still don't believe that was true, but my father seemed to be dejected when we returned back to India. My father was always very proud of his family and their achievements. But in retrospect, I think that his going back to his family was not as great an experience as he'd anticipated. He was a very loving and gentle person, never having screamed at us or reprimanded us. He had left his house when he was 16. He had tried desperately to try and make things work in India. I think at times when he felt he hadn't succeeded with his duties to his family in India, he had taken courage from the fact that his family in Pakistan had brought him up well and he would be able to fight back. Maybe his journey back home was to refresh this resolve, and he had taken his little son along to give him a taste of his lineage. I think it was like trying to revisit his past and pass it on to his future. It's like when you are a little lost, you try to retrace your steps to figure out where you went wrong. But the past had changed with time. It was not the same for him. The memory of all the anecdotes and good times he had collected with pride over the years seemed tainted by the bickering and fight for something as menial as the possession of his property rights. He had got his son along to introduce him to his proud past, but the past wasn't there. And what was left of it was not something to be proud of either. Instead of finding out where he had gone wrong, he realized that the beginning itself was a mistake. He was too far gone to start all over again. Neither side seemed to be his. He was in the no man's land. I remember him crying while walking along the no man's land between Pakistan and India. And I felt sad for him. Little did I know, by the time we got back, I would have to start feeling sad for myself. My father was beginning to die.